Hey guys, thanks for coming to watch this video today. I am super excited to bring you kind of a step-by-step process. So this will be part one of setting up my disc planner. So I am going to be using this Martha Stewart junior size planner, and I actually have some bigger rings that I'm going to put in here, but this will all be put together at a later date. So right now, what I want to talk about is how to kind of decide how to organize your planner, because that is the first process for me when I'm starting a new planner or any type of planner setup. I really need to know what's going inside and how it's going to help me. So I have created some freebies here that we are going to go through together. So what I would recommend, if you want to go ahead and do this with me right now, is to go to the link in the description and you can download this freebie. It's all in 8x11 size, but it'll help you to kind of go through each of the different categories that I'm going to talk about with me. So that's always the easiest and most beneficial thing to do when we're working on something together. Okay, so if you don't already follow me on Instagram at Vienna Ortiz Plans, I sometimes like to ask questions so that I can know what you guys are struggling with whenever I do a video. So the question I asked was, what part of setting up a new planner gives you the most trouble? So I did get a few responses. One of them is what sections to have, and then the order to put things in, all the sections you want to have, figuring out what sections I actually need, deciding on what to keep or take out, and trying to decide what is most important but want to use all the inserts and track everything. So those were just some of the questions that popped up. So what I'm trying to do here is kind of knock out all of those different things. So the first thing that I want to do is just do a type of brain dump, right? So when you think about the different things that you want to plan for or have in your planner, we don't automatically go to just organizing it right away in our heads. It just doesn't work out that way. So what this is a mind map. And what I want you to do with me is kind of create different little stems, I'll show you in a second, that kind of represent the things that you want to plan. And then later on, we'll go ahead and organize them. But for now, let's just do a quick brain dump, and I'm going to do it with you since I am setting up my planner as well. Let's do a quick brain dump and get everything out of our head and onto this little mind map. So a little tip I have for you, this is my planner that I was currently using. I am going to go ahead and reference this while I'm doing this because there's some things that I really like that are in here that I want to use, and so I want to make sure that I'm kind of keeping those things as well. So that might be a little trick if you already have certain things that you like. Okay, so now I have everything organized. It got a little wonky the way I was going around this, but basically I just brain dumped everything that I wanted to plan, and I used my old planner to kind of do that. I don't know that I want to add any more at the moment, but I can always add things later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paper and I'm going to go to the next section. So I printed 2 of these out. It comes with the one in the file, but you can print multiple. And what I want to do, I can do this in a number of ways. I can first go about kind of creating the same category as to what I want each category to be. For example, if I wanted to do a calendar category, I can mark off kind of all of these things that have to do with the calendar section. So that would be monthly, yearly, weekly, daily. But I'm actually going to skip that part of the process because I've kind of explained this before in previous videos. However, if you want to go with a highlighter and kind of create your categories first, you can. So this right here says brain dump, this says trigger list, this is brain dump organization, and that would all kind of be under one section. So if you kind of want to do that, you can do that first and kind of create your sections based on what they are. So brain dump organization, brain dump, and then this would be my calendar section. However, I'm not going to do that first, and I'll show you why. Sometimes I can get a little bit confusing, so I want to try it this way first. However, you're welcome to do it that way too. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into the category. So one of the main categories that I'm going to choose is the calendar category. So the categories don't necessarily have to be a representation of your sections or dividers in your planner, but they can be kind of how you're going to separate all your stuff out. And let's say you only have 6 dividers in your planner, then you can create subsections using this information. So for now, don't worry about creating dividers per se, but worry about kind of separating all your information. So underneath the calendar section, it says what I'm planning. So I'm going to be planning for the month. So I have here month at a glance. I'm also going to do the same for the other things that I'm going to keep in my calendar section. So now here I'm going to create another section called Get Stuff Done, and please ignore the dog that is barking like crazy. If I waited for him to stop, this video would probably never get done. So the Get Stuff Done section, I wanted it to be a bigger section because I have a lot of things on this list that can go under that category. For example, the brain dump section, all of the brain dump stuff can go into that category, as well as all the to-do list stuff. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the highlighter to kind of mark off what I've already put in, and I'm going to put what I'm planning in the Get Stuff Done section. Okay, so here I've basically just done the brain dump stuff and then the to-do list stuff. So that's what I have there. And then I'm gonna move on. I think this is not in any particular order or anything like that yet, but I think I'm gonna move on to the self-care section. Okay, so I've done the self-care, and this is just kind of the bare bones of what I'm planning. There's definitely a lot of other things that I want to put in. The next thing I'm going to move on, I think, is to habits. I do have a lot of different habits, and as you can see, I actually put the water tracker, the fitness tracker, and the sleep tracker in my self-care category because I felt like that's what I wanted to have it under. But for the habits, I do have a habit tracker and a couple of other things that relate to habits. Okay, so the next category that I want to work on is the home category. And that one will include like some cleaning and things like that. So because I know what I already have in my shop and pretty much everything is going to come from my shop, I kind of already know what I'm looking for, different bundles, things like that. So that's what I'm kind of writing down when you see me writing down things like bundles and things like that. So just for your information. Okay, so that's all done. I have all of my sections here, all of my details here based off what I did there. And then now I'm going to move on to this next section that I normally don't do, but because of the questions that I received, I thought that this would be helpful. So this would be a nice little section for you if you were trying to look for some new things to do, or you have some things that are must-haves and you always have to have in your planner. So for me, if I wanted to kind of really get into the constant and must-haves that I always have, I've always had a section for notes. I've always had a calendar section. I've always had a self-care, I'm writing really fast, section. I've always had a list section and Everly. So these are the things that I've kind of always had, and there's things that I'm always trying. So some of the new things that I'm trying are a lot of the like habit trackers. I never used to really have like different types of habit trackers. I'm also trying a lot of new types of to-do lists. So I've actually always had to-do lists. Always, 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 but I'm trying something new where I add the prioritizing part to it, because I would just kind of prioritize in my head, but it's nice to be able to have it all on paper. And then the other thing that I don't really use a lot that I'm going to try to implement is the finance section. I've always had it, but I never really used it to the best of my ability. So when it comes to the organization, this is a part that a lot of people had problems with as well. Trying to decide what kind of order that these things were going to go into, right? So for me, I've always kind of put them in a specific order, and it really just depends on how you want it to go. For example, since the finance section is the least used section for me, I always have it at the back of my planner. For notes, because I'm constantly kind of opening to my note section, which I'm not even going to open up to because I have stuff in here, I always have it at the very beginning. Then I always have my calendar section because it's the next thing that I want to look at. Then I've actually always had a list next, but for some reason I put lists back here. And that's when things got a little wonky for me because I couldn't find anything. So I do always kind of have a way that I organize my planner. And when it gets a little bit too unorganized for me, I do kind of lose that motivation to find things. So figuring out what works for you is probably best. So for me, I'm going to decide on how I want my stuff to be organized based on how I think I'm going to use it. So again, because I've always had notes, I'm just going to use one actually. I'm going to put notes at the very beginning, and then what I want to do is again put the calendar. The next thing that I'm going to want to put in is I'm going to want to put the get stuff done section. Then I want to put in the self-care. Then I'm going to want to put in the habits. Then I will put in Everly section. Then I'll put in lists, home, and I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and finances. Again, finances. Now, if you wanted to trick your brain and actually use a section more often, I would put finances like right after get stuff done or something like that. But because I don't want to trick my brain right now, and I know that it's just going to get in the way, I'm not going to do that. But this might be a great way for you to figure out how you want to organize your actual planner so that it makes sense in your head. I feel like everything has to kind of have a place in your head. And hopefully this will help you to do that. So that is everything. That is how I am going to organize my planner, and that's how I like to organize things. I pretty much use the same process every single time. So I hope that you enjoyed these free printables. I hope that you enjoyed doing this with me. The next part is basically me kind of printing out the different inserts and cutting them and kind of doing all of that stuff, because that's really important too, is kind of deciding what printables you're going to use and then how to size them down, cut them down, and put them in your planner. So that'll be part 2. And then part 3, I'm not quite sure how this is going to go yet, but I feel like part 3, I'm going to maybe show you the setup and kind of do some initial planning in it. We will see how it goes. But again, thank you so much for coming to watch this video. I hope that it was helpful, and I will see you in part 2. Bye. Some of the things, these are the things that I've kind of always had. These are, oh my God, I can't speak. Hi. Okay.